Hello class users, so this is a more detailed version of how the copy service tool works. I'm going to walk you through where it is, how to do it, and a couple of things you really need to watch out for this tool. It's very, very handy, makes things fast, but it's got a couple of little catch-me's that you'll always have to know about. All right, so we're in the message board, and actually right now we've got the little warning up because it's quite a brand new tool, but it is now highly recommended that users using this tool take great care in checking every single field in the newly copied service. Okay, so I'm going to tell you exactly why, but in particular, you need to watch out for your custom fields because there's no way at this point in time to know which way the custom fields are supposed to be reset because the wording could be, say, opposite in certain centers. You know, it could be a yes or a no depending on how that custom field is set up. You have to look at it, you have to know, and we are recommending that actually centers set up some workflows so you guys can, maybe just see that little A4 sheet next to your desk to remember which things are really critical that you check. So let me show you how to do this and why these things are important. So we might want to start about where this is. It's not under tools, it's actually inside clients. Now there's a reason for this. I'm going to say pull up a client. Let's just do a quick search. And we'll click on Vicky here. This is just a test site, as many of you would know, and the place to do it is inside your client services list. So it's on the front page of the client. Obviously, we're trying to copy a service, and we copy a service from inside client services, and there's the icon there for copy. But to get started, we actually need to click the service we want to copy. Why can't we do it in other places? Well, the reason is we need to copy services inside a client. So you can only copy a service into the same client. You can't copy across clients, and there are security reasons why we need that to happen. We can't do accidental things or choose clients or anything like that. It's only inside a client, and the main reasons why we have this tool is to make it faster when most of the circumstances are essentially the same, and you don't have to write it all out again. All right, so the steps go like this. You click the service you want to copy and you go copy. Gives you a little warning. Make sure that you need to know the details, and it can't be reverted, but of course you can delete it if it's not right afterwards. So let's do that. We press yes. Tells us the service has copied successfully, and similar to those of you who use Intake, you'll see that it's marked in a green color, and that tells us which is the new one. It has a couple more things that need to be saved, so you'll need to click in and do the work. So this is where the warning kicks in. You really need to check every single field. Now, the first of these, we've got a couple of things here, like the financial disadvantage indicator, family violence, and homeless status. These three are the MPA fields that are required across all centers. So you're going to have to fill these in correctly at a start. And then the created by will be you because you've made the copy. If that's not the case, it will be fixed soon. Similarly, the assigned to can be made required as well. It's up to your center whether you do that. Now, some of you, that's a very important field because it'll allow you to see who's looking after that service, particularly ongoing services. So make sure if it's there, you need to fill it out. I would literally go through every single thing, make sure everything's correct, make sure your funding category is correct. That's very important. This one, date of service, or open date, depending on the kind of service, is blanked out. So in other words, it is not copied, and that is deliberate because you might be copying a service that's say 6 weeks old, and we don't want to accidentally leave it as an old date when it's something new. The safest thing to do is to blank it and force people to actually put in the proper date, and it's simple as finding today's date because that will be the default once you click inside the box. Other things may or may not be compulsory, and in this case it is, but yours probably won't. Now, down the bottom here is an example of a custom field, and in this case, if that old service that you copied was double checked or cross checked or whichever terminology you use, it basically, a lot of services do this kind of, say, advice checking or some kind of system in place for the principal to look over it and maybe check and do a date and maybe some notes. Well, that's not going to be relevant to this new field, so it's a really strong example of you need to check every field, and in this case I'd clear that out and make sure obviously it's not checked yet because it's brand new. And again, make sure all these fields are in the correct status. Okay, once we've done that, and we'll save that. So the main things that aren't copied are actually actions. They're not copies. You need to be aware of that. So any notes and things from the other service will not be copied. So if you did need to drag anything across, you will have to copy and paste into a new note. Additional parties, by contrast, are copied. So again, if it's not the right other parties or related parties, you will need to delete them by just clicking in their boxes and deleting. And it isn't highly likely you may need to put in new additional parties and conflict check them as you go in, making sure things are okay. And then the other thing that, as I mentioned, is wiped is date of service. So you will need to do that as well before you can save this. Another request while I'm thinking of it, we had is, some people want to mark that they're a copy. We don't have a mechanism for that, but you could do either your own custom field, or perhaps you just want to use your keywords, and you might want to just do something like copy or copied service. As long as you're using the same keyword, then you can do a search and see if they're copied. I actually think that's a pretty good idea. It's something we might be able to look at, see if we can automate it at a later date, but it's not going to be the highest of priorities. We've got a few other things we need to fix to make sure things are running smoothly, but if there's enough interest, we will get that happening. All right, once you've done that, of course, click save. So that's basically all there is to know. In summary, actions and date of service are not copied. Everything else is, including additional parties. Make sure additional parties and all other relevant fields are in the right status. If they need to be cleared, make sure you clear them out. Again, recommending centers actually do things like that. Make sure you copy a service, do a service check. A good place to put that would be on your center's message board, which is this side. If you don't know how to do that, you could look at the documentation or call help desk. All right, so that's the basis of it. Chris de Bro signing off.